Hey, how's it going? I'm just gonna walk you through how I start off my seedlings when starting from seed. So this is all you're gonna need. Um, I'm doing 2 seeds today. They're already in the water, germinating for 24 hours. Um, you can use rockwool cubes or rapid rooter starters, or even Jiffy peat cubes. I've used those before with no problem, but I have just started using these little seedling cups, and I have my own soil mix here. So I just use this instead of a peat cube. It's essentially the same thing, and I have this soil already mixed up with a ton of these little seedling trays, so might as well use them. Alright, so I'm gonna fill that, pack it down a little bit, and then before we put these seeds in, I'm gonna get this a little moist, and for that we're gonna use water that we've pH'd to 5.5. Personally, I use tap water that I then let sit with the cap off for at least 24 hours. If you're using distilled water, it's going to be a little bit harder to get your pH right where you want it, just because it's low ppm. I've had zero problems with using tap water and just letting any chlorine evaporate off. Alright, once you have your water pH'd, you can get your cubes or your soil or your rock wool wet. If you're using rock wool, it's a little different method. You're going to want to soak your rock wool cubes in your pH water for at least half an hour. But with this, I just use a little syringe just to prevent mess. And actually these, when you are mixing fertilizer, liquid fertilizer, these are beautiful because a teaspoon is going to be 5 milliliters, and it just makes it insanely easy to measure all your nutrients. But right now we're just going to use it to get the soil a little wet, so we have something to put our seeds onto. If you have more space and you're not doing this indoors, I mean, it's a lot easier to wet your soil. I just do it this way to prevent mess in a small workspace. And obviously, if you're doing more than 2, it'll be worth it to water them a little differently, but for the small amount, this is perfect. Alright, now that the soil's all wet, we can go ahead and add our seeds. All the excess water is running off the bottom. Now, you don't have to germinate your seeds in water like this. You could plant dry seeds right into here, and there's a very good chance that they'll pop up. This just helps speed up the process. You might be able to see this seed has a little sprout already coming out, so we know it's alive. It's also a good way to find dead seeds, although just because the seed sinks does not mean it's dead. I mean, you can see this one is sunk to the bottom, but it has a sprout coming right out. So with these, just pop them out. Be very gentle, especially if they're sprouting already. You don't want to damage the sprout. I'm just going to place it right in the middle. Same with the other one. Alright. Now I don't like to push them in. I don't want to damage the seeds at all, so I'm just going to take some of my soil. Like I said, we'll just cover the top of the seed with some dry soil. That way we're not pushing the seeds in too deep. And then I'll just take a squirt bottle, the same pH water, 5.5. 5.5 to 6.2 is fine. I use reagent, so it's not an exact science. I've never had any problem with pH really, as long as you're in that range, 5.5 to 6.5, I think you'll be alright. Or just spray the top, just get the top a little wet. And from there, we're gonna throw it into the humidity dome, let it get sprouted. Alrighty, and once it's all wet, ready to go, I'm just gonna stick it right here in the humidity dome. This is a 10 by 20 tray, a 10 by 20 humidity dome with vents. Put that on there. I'm just going to give it a little spray, get the humidity up in there. And that's it. They're ready to go. We'll probably see sprout in a couple days. If we don't see a sprout in the first 5 days, generally it's not going to happen, or it's going to be a weak sprout. For the most part, 1 or 2 days I'll see a sprout coming up. I don't use a heat mat. It's relatively warm in this room. It stays about 75. You can use a heat mat, it'll definitely accelerate the germination, but it's not necessary. Even the humidity dome, I've had success without using a dome, just throwing the seed pods right under light. So if you don't have all the material, you should be okay to continue to try. And just keep trying, because a lot of it's trial and error, and you'll find stuff that works for you. Alright, thanks.